Hey, imaginary internet friends. I was going through some of these simulated comments. I say simulated because there aren't any actual comments yet about what you guys want to see on the channel, and a lot of what was coming through was I like back when you used to play video games and do reviews about that sort of thing back in January. So I need to get back to doing that, and I think I'm going to. But in order to do that, I'd like to go all the way back to the beginning of video gaming for me, which was probably around the same time as
Kindergarten. It's a critical juncture in a young person's life when they learn the importance of sharing, playing nice, the fundamentals of language and the alphabet, the basics of arithmetic, and, finger painting? I'll be honest, I turned 30 earlier this year, and my memories of kindergarten are pretty hazy. According to YouTube demographics research, though, there's a pretty decent chance it wasn't that long ago for many of you. So I'm going to evaluate this game against my own memory of kindergarten and see what parts seem to resonate with me, and then question whether the things that I don't respond to are indicative of a normal childhood or maybe of something a little more strange. A large, bouncy-chested woman with glasses and auburn hair wearing an odd combination of mismatching clothing. That doesn't ring a bell. I don't think I was particularly interested in the features of a fully developed woman at that age, but this teacher seems to think I should take notice. That's a little off-putting. An orange-haired classmate selling yo-yos and cigarettes doesn't seem to fit my recollection of kindergarten either, but I'm not going to say that it couldn't have been a thing. I just don't remember my parents ever sending me off to kindergarten with any money. At my school, we would never have a full day of kindergarten, so any part of eating lunch is kind of out, too. I do vaguely remember having a crush on a bossy blonde-haired girl in grade school, but I don't think I met her until first grade. I will give the game partial credit for this because I feel like, had I met her in kindergarten, my feelings would have been the same. I also don't remember our school having a janitor, but I'm quite certain it did. And if you were the janitor at my school during the time I was going there, I'm sorry to have slighted you. I'm sure you were then and continue to be a wonderful human being. I definitely don't remember you beating me to death with a mop. That's one thing I will give you full marks for. Frankly, I don't remember dying this much in kindergarten either. In fact, if memory serves, I don't think I ever died in kindergarten. So, for me, I guess that basically covers the game in terms of realism. I can't say that it's altogether unrealistic, but it definitely feels a little fantastic in some ways, and I think the developer may have taken some creative liberties about how kindergarten really works. But how does this game work as a game, though? In short, it works pretty well. It plays a little bit like the movie Groundhog's Day in that you will be perpetually playing the same day over and over again until you've made the right decisions in order to push the needle forward. At least, that's been the case for everything I've seen so far. The gameplay itself is pretty straightforward, and the player isn't particularly punished for not knowing how to play, aside from being perpetually beaten or shot to death, or periodically falling into a deep hole. But, as video game players, I think those are the kind of things we've come to expect from games, or at the very least, have gotten used to. The game is fundamentally point-and-click trial and error, and it doesn't need to be overly complicated, so it isn't. I don't think that's the point of the game, but I also haven't necessarily figured out what the point is either. The dialogue and storytelling is where the game seems to shine, at least for me anyway. You play as a young boy going to kindergarten, and that's really about all you know of the main character. In my time playing the game, I didn't really learn anything more about him other than he isn't afraid to ask really important questions, such as, why are you using a mop to sweep the sidewalk, and can I use the bathroom? I don't know, can you? Well, I do seem to remember that from grade school at least. So, ironically, the character you may know the least about might be you. But I enjoy the fact that most of the things you learn about the other characters aren't told to you directly. You tend to find out more over time. For example, when you first talk to Cindy, she asks if you'd like to be her boyfriend. But you can find out pretty quickly about her that she's a little obsessed with the notion of having a boyfriend, whether you assume that role or not. Of course, if you do decide to play along, you additionally find out things at home between Cindy's parents are probably not going the best. I genuinely loved playing house with Cindy though, and assuming the role of the drunken husband who needs to admit he has a drinking problem. For my sake, I hope my sponsor can talk me down off this ledge and get me back to a life of wedded bliss through sobriety. But if I'm married to Cindy, my odds aren't looking good. Although the Cindy character is a bit cliched, she is also a pretty good representation of what grade school romance looked like for me and many others in my situation. Also, Cindy is a vegan, but isn't completely sure what that means. Now I'm the one who appreciates her honesty. Lily, or Ugly Lily, is a kind of dull and mysterious character through my experience with the game so far. She's obviously the catalyst which moves the story forward, but having that burden makes her frankly uninteresting to me. The most interesting thing about her is her older brother Billy, who has recently gone missing, but in all likelihood has been murdered by the bloodthirsty and mysterious janitor. Jerome is the quintessential kid who is almost literally too cool for school. He won't be interested in hanging out with you unless you purchase the yo-yo from Monty. Speaking of Monty, he runs the local kindergarten shop? I don't know. He buys and sells things and doesn't seemingly have much more depth of character than that. He may be one of the only other kids to talk to the janitor. There's the bully character whose name I was never given or I didn't care enough to remember. He has typical paternal abandonment issues which cause him to act out, I suppose. He will sometimes beat you to death. He will for certain do this if he smells you carrying more than a certain amount of money that you are unwilling to part with. He must have a very keen nose. And then there's Nugget. He's just got issues. He might have something of a learning disadvantage to begin with, but he's also being brainwashed through the use of his ongoing medication. I get the feeling he will play a larger part in the overall story, but in the meantime, I'll just try to stay away from him because he kind of weirds me out. All the other characters I either know too little about or care too little about to comment on. I plan on coming back to play this game a little more in the near future, and perhaps I will release a subsequent update to this video. But in the meantime, I will just say this. I've enjoyed this game for its blunt, usually dark humor and non-traditional methods of storytelling. Its sarcastic dialogue resonated with me, and I found most of the anecdotes fairly charming. I look forward to going back to kindergarten sometime soon, and with any luck, maybe I will avoid death by bludgeoning long enough to find Billy's killer. But probably not.
So anyway, that was kindergarten. Not my experience with kindergarten, and hopefully not yours, but an experience with kindergarten. I remember less beatings with a mop from the janitor, and I don't recall my teacher being that well endowed as she kind of, commented on herself. Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for watching. I hope to come back to this game, and I will definitely be putting up more game videos. If you like what you saw here, like the video, comment, subscribe, all those usual things. I will see you next time.